Okay, I'll take your word for it.
I don't like it.
What are you gonna do?
Just smile.
Thanks, Ron. All right.
Okay, welcome to the Troy Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, March 22nd. Please call the roll.
Mr. McGarry.
Here.
Mr. Westmeyer.
Here.
Mayor.
Here.
Mr. Titterington.
Here.
Mrs. Early.
Here.
Mr. Wolke.
Here.
Mr. Cappers.
Here.
All members are present.
Previously disseminated to the members of the commission were the minutes from our March 8th meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions of those minutes?
Make a motion approved.
Second.
Motion, support for the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Stand approved. Thank you. First matter on the agenda for the minutes and the roll call. Historic District application for the certificate of appropriateness of 9 North Market Street. Staff have a report for it.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. The applicant is requesting the Planning Commission approval for the painting of the awning at 9 North Market, properties in the B3 Central Business District. OHI form identifies as a 3-story building with Italianate elements, stone steps, and double bracketed cornice. The storefront was altered in 1960. The paint proposed to be used is Tomcat Black. The applicant will be using an acrylic paint that is water resistant, and we will, staff will ensure that the awning is repainted in a workmanlike manner. Just want to make note that the original application, the documents did say that they were going to do a sign, but the applicant has withdrawn that portion of the original application. Staff recommends approval of the proposed alterations based on the following contributing features as referenced in the OHI form are being maintained, and a similar paint color to the one proposed is found throughout the historic district. That concludes the report.
Any questions, staff?
What is the material of the awning?
Fabric.
And they're going to paint that.
So yeah, I researched how they're going to paint it. So basically they have to thoroughly clean it and then stretch it extremely tight to get the acrylic paint to adhere to it.
Okay.
It's like a canvas, kind of like a painting on artwork. Is that type of canvas.
Do we have an example of a painted canvas on town?
Not
I don't remember seeing any, but if it works, it works.
How will we know if it doesn't work?
We're going to inspect it as they're painting it.
Okay, all right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion, support. Any further discussion? Or Sandra?
Either one works.
Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Westmeyer.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Mr. Titterington.
Yes.
Mrs. Early.
Yes.
Mr. Wolke.
Yes.
Mr. Cappers.
Yes.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes.
Approved.
Next, we have a historic district application for a certificate of appropriateness for 121 South Market Street. Staff have a report.
Yes, sir. So this is for the alteration of the paint colors as well as shutter installations at 121 South Market Street. The primarily building color will be Winchester gray. The main body of the building, including the siding, will be painted this Winchester gray color. The applicant is also proposing to paint the accent trim tricorn black, and then shutters are proposed to be added on the sides of both second-story windows. The shutters will be painted rookwood red. You can see the color palettes in the attached design graphics. Staff recommends approval of the proposed paint and shutter installation based on the following. The paint will not detract from the historic integrity of the building and streetscape. Similar paint colors can be found in other areas of the district. And the paint complies with the design manual. And that'll conclude my report.
Any questions by staff?
Is this one of the buildings that there was some discussion about having some flexibility? Can you explain that and what the approach might be?
Yeah, so
Because that's not the way your report is written, so.
yeah, the applicant for the storefront in particular, this reads that they're proposing to paint the accent trim tricorn black. They are requesting some flexibility in the tricorn black because they don't want the storefront to exceed or be too dark. So they're looking for a little bit of flexibility that instead of maybe painting the full storefront, that tricorn black, maybe just the top trim piece, and then having the rest being that Winchester gray. And the applicant can also further explain that as well.
Would there, if they can, if the chair is okay with that.
Go with the question.
So I know that one of the concerns was it be too dark, so too much black. Was there some other discussion about maybe having some of the red brought from the shutter as well?
Potentially bringing some of the red from the shutters down into the storefront. So really what they're looking for is these three main colors, incorporating that throughout the entire building with a little bit of flexibility.
But the light gray would be the base,
The main
primary color.
Yes, sir.
Well, what's before us today is the application, and the application is for the shutters to be a black color, right?
The red color.
Or the red
Right.
color, excuse me.
Yeah.
So what was the black color we're talking about?
So the tricorn black is for the accent trim, but the concern is they really don't know, once they get started on the paint, there's a concern that there's going to be too much black, essentially. So they may have to alter it a little bit. Instead of painting all the trim black, they may decide to bring some of that rockwood red from the shutter down into that storefront to kind of add a little bit of dimension and keep it a little bit lighter.
But that's not part of this application.
It is a part of the application. They're looking for a little bit of flexibility in the colors, but the three main colors would be what we're approving.
Okay, well, that was a scenario that you proposed to start out with.
That wasn't in your report.
Gotcha.
That's why I wanted to bring it out and make sure that it was on the record, and if we wanted to act on that part of it, that it wasn't lost.
Gotcha.
So how do we know? I don't think we've ever approved an application that is wishy-washy without having to make a separate application. You can, that's a legal term, wishy-washy. So you can go ahead and follow an application that says this is going to be gray, or this is going to be black, or this is going to be red. But then to deviate, don't you need to come back to planning commission again and say, hey, listen, that's...
So if we approach this as we're reviewing the three main colors as provided in the application and having some flexibility, but we're still approving those three main colors to be used throughout the building. In general, the main color will be gray, the shutters will be red. The only flexibility they're looking for is the tricorn black, essentially. They just are concerned with how much black will be used, and they won't be able to tell that until they start painting.
So are we saying that from now on, every applicant can say, this is my palette, I'm not sure where I'm going to put it, but here's my palette?
It's really on a case-by-case basis, dependent upon the facts. It's my understanding that the main concern is the tricorn black. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's mainly just the trim.
Name and address, please.
Grant Westfall, 2570 Troy Sidney Road, Troy. The main concern is we had Bryan Brothers out to look at the buildings. They're the ones that suggested the paint scheme, the three colors, the colors for each one of the buildings. Their main concern is to have some flexibility when painting the lower part on the trim pieces, the accents. They feel that the black might just be a little too much to paint the entire bottom half of the building black. They want to be able to possibly pull some of the Winchester gray, that is the body of the actual siding of the building, into the trim, but obviously sticking with those three main paint colors, not really deviating from it. But like they had told us, they want to make it look as good as possible. To do that, they want to get started, maybe even get the bottom of it painted, that tricorn black, review it at that point, and then if they need to pull one of the other two colors into that bottom portion to be able to do that.
I'm sorry, while you're there, answer this. The report indicates that the primary color of the building will be Winchester gray. Now, you're saying that the lower half is going to be black?
Well, that's because the lower half, the siding of the building, which includes the entire north side of the building, which is solid siding, the bottom half of that building is all kind of decorative trim around all the
You're talking
windows.
about the lawyer's building.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Oh.
14 Kingdom.
That's
I know,
why,
but see, this shows the other building.
Yeah.
It's the middle one or the left one?
It's the left-hand side.
That's
And
confusing.
that's facing
So
the
that could
parking
be
lot.
very.
Yes, yes, that one side
I
is
would take a look at that side of the building.
Yeah, I'm okay with
Gray.
Winchester gray, all the way down. The the tricorn black is just the decorative trim that faces, is on the front of the building around the windows and
The picture makes it look like
the main building, main door.
So, because I think there was, this is
That would be
trim.
left to Bryan Brothers, who's the contractor that you're using.
We're using Bryan Brothers.
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
He's got a heck of a fast one, by the way. Okay. Any other questions of staff? Commission want to take any action?
I'll make a motion to approve based on the fact that Bryan Brothers is supervising it and they're staying within those three color palettes.
I'll second.
There's a motion to support. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mayor,
Yes?
Mr. Titterington,
Yes.
Mrs. Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mr. Wolke,
Yes.
Mr. Cappers.
Yes.
Mr. McGarry,
Yes.
Mr. Westmeyer.
Yes.
Approved.
Okay, next we have 123 South Market Street, staff editor.
Yes, sir. So this is for paint and the second-story window, or, I'm sorry, the storefront window installation at 123 South Market Street. The applicant is proposing to replace the storefront glass with the same dimensions as existing. The metal trim will be painted in that tricorn black. The entry doors will be replaced with the single pane door with the middle painted also that tricorn black to match the storefront glass. The entry doors are not contributing features per the OHI form. Additionally, the applicant is proposing to use tan Downing stone as the primary building color and accent trim the light French gray. And there is not flexibility or wishy-washiness in this application.
I like that term. Where'd you come up with that?
It's a good one. Staff recommends approval of the proposed paint and glass replacement based on the following. The paint will not detract from the integrity of the building and streetscape, and the contributing features referenced on the OHI form are still visible and not altered, and it complies with the design manual. And that concludes my report.
Any questions of staff?
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Are we painting stone? Is what it's being?
Correct.
So we don't have to worry about caulk like we've done with some of the other
Like in
buildings?
the brick mortar joints.
Exactly.
Yeah, we won't have any caulk.
Thank you.
And is this painting overpainted?
Yes.
So it's not bare stone like that?
Correct.
Any other questions of staff? Commission want to take any action?
Move for approval.
I second.
There's motion support for the motion. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Titterington,
Yes.
Mrs. Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mr. Wolke,
Yes.
Mr. Cappers,
Yes.
Mr. McGarry,
Yes.
Mr. Westmeyer,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Approved.
And next we have 125, 127 South Market Street. Staff report, please.
Yes, sir. So this is for paint, window installation, and reframing of the storefront at the property located at 125 through 127 South Market Street. They're proposing to replace the three upstairs windows with black 6/6 divided grills, atrium double-hung windows. The existing windows are not original, however, the 6/6 divided grills will match the existing and complement the adjacent second-story windows. The applicant is also proposing to paint the upper brick gray Roycroft pewter. The first floor will be painted that light French gray. The accent color on the lower will be painted studio blue green, and the shutters are being proposed on both sides of the second-story windows that will be painted tricorn black. Finally, the applicant is proposing to reframe the sign backing with hardy backer. A reworked trim piece will be added to separate the storefront from the second-story brick, and then flower boxes are being proposed on the storefront windowsills. It's important to note that the flower boxes will not project into the public right-of-way. Staff recommends approval of the proposed paint, window replacement, and storefront reframing with the condition that the signage, including the sign mounting hardware and the lights, are reviewed by the planning commission prior to installation. This conditional approval is based on the following: the paint will not detract from the historic integrity of the building and streetscape. The storefront openings will remain intact in terms of size, and the alterations will comply with the design manual. And that'll conclude my report.
Any questions of staff? I learn something every time I come here. What's hardy backer?
It's kind of a hybrid between wood and cement and plastic, essentially. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's like hardy plank, engineered wood, essentially, with a little bit of cement in there. But this is just going to be on the sign backing is where that hardy backer will be.
Gotcha. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I don't have a question, but I have a comment. It's really hard to tell what the colors are from a piece of paper.
Gotcha.
I mean, none of them look objectionable to me, but I really can't tell what color they are.
We do have some color palettes. You want us to pass those around?
Sure.
Is that
Oh, wait a minute. Outline them for us. I don't want to take a look through all those.
Oh, yes, please. I'm not painting my house. I don't need to.
I'll find it.
Specifically, like the light French gray, I'd like to know.
Also, I have a question. On the rendering, which looks very nice, it shows 3 doors. Are there 3 doors there?
Yes. We're getting 3 nods down there.
Yeah.
3 doors, 3 nods.
Yeah, there's 3 doors and then the 2 storefronts.
One door down, go ahead.
That's just an endorsement I couldn't.
Where are we at? Lead action?
No, we're waiting to...
Oh, we're waiting.
respond.
Sorry. I can't tell. I could ask for studio blue-green, too.
You should
I like
just count on
red.
us asking for that.
I'm very happy with the red.
This one's 6,000. I don't think we have it, no.
Okay. Well, I'm sure it's...
Not in the Sherwin-Williams.
I'm sure it's really pretty.
I'll keep looking, but I don't think Sherwin-Williams has it in their color palette.
Okay. Thank you for looking.
That's Sherwin-Williams project.
It
has the number beside it.
Yeah.
I know, I'm trying to find it.
2848?
It's going to look like, it's going to be that right there. There's a light French gray.
It's a lot better on the screen, thank you.
Look.
When it's printed out, it's really hard to tell. That looks beautiful.
Okay, are you satisfied?
I am satisfied, thank you very much.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Conditional?
And that motion and second would be upon the condition that the storefront reframing with the condition signage, including the sign mounting hardware, and the lights are reviewed by planning commission prior to installation. Is that true?
Yes, please.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Are you ready to call the roll?
Mrs. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mr. Westmeyer?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
It's approved.
Okay, next we have a historic district application for 15 South Oxford Street. Staff have a report.
All right, more paint. So the applicant is proposing to paint the trim, gutters, windows, and front columns extra white. All sides of the house that are currently white will be painted gray. Cyberspace, the brick will remain unpainted, and we will pass around that color palette as well. And staff recommends approval of the proposed paint based on the following. The paint will not detract from the historic integrity of the building and streetscape, and it complies with the design manual.
Any questions of staff?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second.
Motion, support by the motion. I'll call on the mayor for the second. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mr. Westmeyer?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mrs. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Approved.
Okay, we leave painting and go to a rezoning application. Staff have a report on 15 South Oxford Street.
Yes, sir. So this is for the request of the rezoning from B2 General Business District to OR1 Office Residence District. The land is currently used as a single-family dwelling and is currently a legal non-conforming use in the B2 General Business District. The B2 General Business District permits residential uses on the second floor and above. This is a single-family dwelling. The surrounding districts include the B2 to the north and east, R5 single-family residential to the south, and the R6 two-family residential and B2 General Business District to the west. The zoning code describes the proposed OR1 as designed to accommodate a mixture of residential and office uses. The district is mapped along major thoroughfares near hospitals and as transitional areas between commercial and residential uses. And this is where this would apply in this case. Just to the north it's B2 and south is residential. The future land use map, figure 14-4, displays this property in between existing residential and commercial uses, and I've included that with the report. Due to the straightforward nature of this rezoning request, the compliance with the comprehensive plan, and the fact that City Council is required to hold a public hearing if the request proceeds on, staff does not feel that a public hearing before the Planning Commission is warranted. It is staff's opinion that the proposed rezoning will achieve the desired transitional district as discussed in the comprehensive plan and zoning code. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission provide a positive recommendation for the proposed rezoning from B2 to OR1 based on the following. It's consistent with the intent and purposes of the zoning code, consistent with the surrounding districts. The use is consistent with the permitted uses in the OR1, and it complies with the comprehensive plan. That'll conclude my...
Okay, let's take a look at the issue. First of all, whether or not we want to have a public hearing.
I'll move that we not hold a public hearing.
Mr. Oakley makes a motion, supported by Mr. Turner. Any further discussion? Please call the roll. Keep in mind, an affirmative answer means no public hearing.
Mr. Cappers.
I say yes.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes.
Mr. Westmeyer.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes?
Mr. Titterington.
Yes.
Mrs. Ehrlich.
Yes.
Mr. Wolke.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Commission will not hold a public hearing.
Concerning a recommendation of council, I think this is a perfect use of the OR district between the two. You want us to adjourn for a little while or recess?
Sorry, my apologies.
If we adjourn, we're done. If we recess, we can give them...
We can get it done. All right, Commission, want to take any action?
The last two pages shows a list of addresses. Are those people have been notified?
Will be.
They will be.
They will be notified for the public hearing.
Or for the council's public hearing?
Right.
Okay. We're talking about making a zone which is not the same as any contiguous zone. It's 20 feet by 55 feet, is that correct? Or not 20 feet, but 50 feet by 57 feet?
Are you talking about the lawn dimensions?
The dimension of the parcel that will be a zone unto itself.
Looks like it's 50 by 57 and a half.
Yeah, well, 50 by 57, close enough.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's all I'm showing you.
Okay. Back in the olden days, we were told that spot zoning is no zoning. Now, I recognize that this is a reasonable transition, so for practical purposes, I'm not going to oppose it, but I'm a little uneasy with spot zoning.
Well, spot zoning is more of, you have a residential neighborhood and you have a random M2 light industrial district in the middle of it. This is a transitional between more intense commercial uses and the residential to the south. So there's no concern with spot zoning from a staff standpoint.
And I recall we kind of clarified probably 10, 15 years ago now, and added these transitional districts, knowing that, you know, you're never going to eliminate what might be considered spot zoning, but if you create that transitional, even if it is a small area, it's kind of a fade in, fade out type thing rather than a stark change.
I do recognize the consistency, even though it is, like I say, a 50 by 57 foot spot
Small
zone.
But we have
57.
rejected spot zoning before. And-
True spot zoning, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other discussion items?
So it's currently B2,
Correct.
which is supposed to be residential upstairs only,
Yep, and commercial on the first floor.
but it's not being used that way
It's
now?
been used as a single-family dwelling for at least 20 years, so it's a legal non-conforming use currently.
And this was an application filed by them. This wasn't something that we initiated as staff?
Correct, so the new owners, they're present in the audience, just purchased this, and the question of the legal nonconformities came up, and I recommended that we look at a rezoning to make it a permitted use, legal conforming use.
So there's no change anticipated right now?
There's no change, it'll be single family.
But it could be.
It's good to clean it up now.
Any other questions, staff, or discussion items on this matter? Is there anything you want to share with the class?
If you were getting it.
Is he done with his phone call?
Sorry.
I'll move to approve.
Motion to approve, to make a recommendation to council?
Yes.
Positive recommendation to council. Is there support for that motion?
I'll second.
There's a motion and support. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes.
Mr. Westmeyer.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Mr. Titterington.
Yes.
Mrs. Ehrlich.
Yes.
Mr. Wolke.
Yes.
Mr. Cappers.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Staff have anything else coming from the commission today?
We do not, sir.
Commission members want to discuss anything further as a commission of the whole as opposed to individually?
Move to adjourn.
I second.
Motion to adjourn. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.
You need to get control.
I'm sorry to poke you, but you were getting in
Yes,
trouble.
this is,
I didn't even think of that.
the previous, Yes, but it was approved.
Take care.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Really a good transition.
You know, the mics are still on.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Sue.
Yeah, yeah.
Mike's, please.